to a Meet Candidate Board of Education night. As we get started here, I'd like everyone to rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'm Jeff White, and this is Twyla Hine. We're co-presidents of the Fairborn Education Association. We'd like to welcome you again, and we're going to turn this over to Sheila Keaton, who will be moderating, and she'll kind of set up the ground rules of how we're going to do this, and we'll go from there. Again, thank you, and good evening.
I want to thank the Fairborn Education Association and the people involved with the Citizens Forum, Fairborn A New Beginning, for asking me to moderate tonight. I want to introduce the participants in tonight's Meet the Candidates night. I will do this alphabetically since I am a former teacher. We have Mr. Jerry Browning, Mrs. Tess Little, give a little explanation of how this meet and greet will go. Most of you have already gotten a note card to write down questions. If during the time you don't hear your specific question answered, you can stay afterward, have refreshments, and maybe take the time to ask your question one-on-one with the candidates. Candidates will start out. You'll first have 5 minutes to tell us about yourself and anything else you want the citizens of Fairborn to know about you. You'll be given signals. When the end of your time is approaching. After the candidates speak, your cards will be collected. Is that right? After they speak, Twyla and Jeff, after they speak, then you're going to collect the cards? Okay. And when the questions from the citizens are asked, we'd like you to try to keep your answers to about a minute. And you'll be sitting. So, we'll begin again alphabetically. Mr. Browning.
Good evening. I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. It's a pleasure to get to talk to this group. I'd like to start off telling a little bit about my background. I'm a lifetime resident of Fairborn. 3 generations have gone through Fairborn schools. My parents, my wife and I, she's here tonight, and then our 2 children also went through Fairborn schools. I've been involved in Fairborn for a long, long time. 14 years as a soccer coach and president of the Skyhawk Soccer Club. Was president of the Athletic Boosters for many years, and then also was on the last capital improvement committee for Fairborn City Schools. So I do, even though it's been a while since we did that, I do have experience with that. The other thing is I've got 25 plus years of leadership experience in industry, and I've led large projects with engineering teams. I'm a graduate of Purdue University, electrical engineer and a master's in manufacturing management. So I've led engineering teams. We've had projects that are $100-some million projects that include buildings and equipment. So I understand buildings. Also manage plants that have budgets of $40+ million. So I had profit, P&L experience and responsibility, and I had to hit the numbers. So I understand from a fiscal responsibility standpoint what it means to hit the numbers. The focus points you're going to hear tonight, really from the 3 of us, myself and Pat and Katie. We're going to talk about relationship with employees, and I'm going to talk about that. We're going to talk about working with the city And Pat's going to talk about that, and also working with Pat will talk about that. And then talk about the plan for the buildings, and Katie will cover that, along with some other topics. When you talk about relationship, I've got 25 plus years of union management relationship experience. I understand how to negotiate contracts, and I understand what the keys to that are. And I've talked to a lot of people within the city, within the district, employees, and even people outside the city. And it's kind of interesting because the Cox Media sent all of us a survey that we responded to. And the last question was basically, if there's an ongoing feud between the board, the administration, and the employees of the district. And I'm just telling you what was in the survey. So the reason I brought that up is because outside of Fairborn, that's a perception of Fairborn, and we've got to fix that. Now, the key to fixing that, from my experience, is great communication. It's treating people with respect. And I always say, treat people the way you want to be treated. And I think we've got to start recognizing we've got great employees in the district. I wanted to touch on fiscal for just a second. There's been a lot of discussion about fiscal improvement of the district, and it's a fact, okay, from 2 years ago. If you look at the general fund, and these are approximate numbers, the general fund is about $8 million better in 2015 than it was 2 years ago. If you look at the two things that make that up, revenue and expenditures, revenue, increased revenue, which in all honesty the district doesn't have control over, is about $5.5 million of that, or 67%. So a third of that is expenditures and cutting expenditures. And I'm going to say it, she's sitting here, we've got a great treasurer in the district. And the board members, she stays on top of revenue. I can tell that, and, going to the board meetings and those types of things, and gives good feedback back to the board. So the board has to let the administration do their job, act on the recommendations of the board, and I think we'll be okay. So, in closing, if the three of us are elected, you're not going to see a difference in fiscal responsibility. You're not going to see a difference in the attack and going after the buildings. What you'll see is a great improvement in communication, a great improvement in involvement of the city, and in visibility of the city. I personally believe the board has to get out and be seen in the city, not just the school events. So I think it's time for the city to focus on the positives and for the district to focus on the positives. It seems like we spend a lot of time defending the negatives. And if the three of us are elected, we bring great skill set. I've got leadership skill set, Katie's got great education skill set, and Pat's got prior experience on the board. So I think the three of us, along with the two members that are there now, Andy Wilson and Jerry Luce, would make a great team. So with that, thank you.
Mrs. Dillon?
Yes.
Thank you. As a Fairborn native for 4 generations, my family claims 4 generations who have attended Fairborn City Schools, my mother, myself, my 3 children, and I still have two grandchildren in the district. I'm a true Fairbornite. I graduated from Fairborn High School, married a boy next door 46 years ago, and our anniversary will be this Friday, who is also a Fairborn graduate. My husband Jim and I had 3 children, all Fairborn graduates. My mother retired from Fairborn High School cafeteria after 25 years of service, so Fairborn has always been my home. I've currently served as a member of the Board of Education for 10 years. Elected in 2005, I've served 3 terms. The first term was a 2-year term to replace a board member who passed away while in office. And then I was re-elected for 2 4-year terms. During that time, I've served as president of the board for 4 years and am currently serving as president. I'm running for the school board because as a board member, the current board, has unfinished work to do. After 10 years of fiscal struggle, we have worked our way out of financial costs we are now solvent. We can now move forward with the help from the community and with new energy and planning to bring the Fairborn City Schools into the 21st century. It is time to modernize our schools to bring the best possible learning environment for our teachers and students. And I will continue that path of strong leadership to guide the district forward. There are some objectives that the board, that Mr. Eaker and I have, and other board members, Ms. Luce and Mr. Wilson. Educating students is our #1 priority. We must stay on the path to academic excellence. I will also work better, and will also work better to create better dialogue and openness between the board, administrators, and staff. Raising morale and pride in our schools is of utmost importance. The board is proposing an updated method of negotiations this contract year called interest-based bargaining for the upcoming union negotiation. IBB focuses on problem-solving negotiation process that addresses issues in a structured, defined manner. A federal mediator usually provides the training, and this new type of bargaining promises to be a better method than the old one that we have currently used. And this has also been accepted by the union contract, so this is what we're going to do, interest-based bargaining this spring. I will continue working on building or renovating the buildings for our district. Whenever the state comes back with the report, we will continue working on that. We've been working on that for a year now. When and where it is fiscally possible, I will work to restore programs and positions that were cut during our financial emergency. But we have to find a way to restore those programs and positions without raising operating taxes. I would like to find a way for our district to be fiscally sound so that our district does not have to endure the pain of cost cutting that we have come through just in the recent past. I believe that public education is the backbone of America, and I will continue to support and lobby for government, rules, and regulations to curb the millions of taxpayers' dollars that are annually paid to charter schools. We must also continue to demand that charter schools operate by the same standards that our public schools are required to do so. And I truly believe the charter school is a #1 threat to the public school system in America. I feel like the school board is the governing body of the school district, responsible for developing policy to ensure management and control of district affairs. In addition to setting policy, the board hires the superintendent, approves the hirings and resignations, terminations, set local school levy, approves expenditures, approves of educational programs and curriculum, and ensures that the proper facilities and equipment are available. The board has the power only when it is setting as a board in a legally called board meeting. The board speaks with one voice and communicates as a whole through formal actions taken at board meetings. The board educates the community on educational issues and legislative process. The board serves as an advocate for public education at the federal and state levels. As a professor of art at Sinclair Community College for over 39 years, it'll be 40 years in January. Time? Okay. Thank you. Thank you all, and I ask for your vote.
Good evening, and I'd like to thank both of the unions here this evening for having us in for this little meet and greet. My name is Pat McCourt. I am indeed a 50-year resident of this community, a graduate of Fairborn High School in 1971. My wife, Donna, also graduated from Fairborn, as well my 2 boys, Buck and Ryan. I was a member of the school board in 1999 when we hired a superintendent, Steve Clifton. I was the past president of the Fairborn Boosters. I was also a 15-year volunteer as an athletic trainer for the Fairborn Athletics. Also involved in junior achievement in teaching 6th grade students. And a former member of the Fairborn Rotary. As Jerry Browning spoke about the city and the involvement with the city, and believe me, the city is doing wonderful things. I can't wait to see the construction get underway out on Colonel Glenn Highway. But one thing I will say is that this board has come up short in relations with the city. Now, anybody can sit back and shake their head and say we've worked with the city. Well, that is simply not true. I spoke with the leaders of this city, and the last combined board and city meeting was October 29th of 2014. And I have the minutes of that meeting. If I get elected, I would say that we need to at least get with the city on a quarterly basis to talk about what the schools are doing and what the city is doing, and more importantly, how we can work together. The city is starving for us to get together. And I don't know why in the past, it may have been our past superintendent, but I don't know why we haven't got together, but we haven't. I called last week and spoke with the school liaison officer at Wright Patton Air Force Base because we, Jerry, Katie, and myself, want to know why, if in fact rumors are true, that the Wright Patton is steering people away from Fairborn, and that is not true. The school liaison officer talked to me, and she said what she does is, first of all, she asks the incoming military families to go to the website. And she told me, your website needs help. She also told me that the second thing that she does is ask the parents to go to the buildings. And boy, did I cringe there. I graduated from Fairborn High School, and it was at the Baker Building. And I know that building forwards and backwards, and believe me, it's crumbling. So I think it is important to have these relationships with the city and with Ray Patterson. As the board has special people to go to the Career Center and be responsible for athletics, I think we need a board representative also dedicated to the city and to Ray Patterson. There's a lot of work to be done, and the biggest thing we need to do is restore trust. For the life of me, I don't know how this board will expect in November to send teachers that they have battled with for more than a year to go out and be the flag bearers of new buildings. It doesn't make sense to me. I know my people in this town. I've been here forever. When I sit down, or when a board representative sits down and negotiate, I don't need an attorney present. I want to sit down and negotiate with the people that I see at Kroger's and at Tickets and at Roush's. Trust needs to be restored. And I fully guarantee you that the three people that are running for this board, new people, have that in mind. So that's our big thing, is restore this trust. Because not only in the teachers, but with the community. We need to get out, and we've gotten out. So, in asking for your vote tonight for myself, I also ask it for Jerry and for Katie, because, as Jerry mentioned, we are a good team, and we'll do great things, I believe. Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming out. And I do want your vote, and I would appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you to the Fairborn Education Association for hosting this event. I'm so thankful for opportunities like this to meet people and share our ideas about the future of Fairborn schools. Quite a few of you know my background already, but just to recap, for those of you who haven't been to one of these events yet, my name is Katie Millard. I hold 2 degrees from the University of Dayton, a bachelor's in education of the handicapped and my master's in early intervention. I have current licenses in both from the Ohio Department of Education. I taught for 7 years at Mad River local schools as an intervention specialist until I had my daughter in 2005. Most recently, I worked as the Southwest Regional Coordinator for the Apple Ohio Project at Ohio State University in conjunction with the Ohio Department of Education, studying the effects of professional development on preschool teachers and their classrooms. I've been involved with Fairborn City Schools since Lacey started preschool at the primary building in 2009. I worked as a classroom volunteer in Dana Sadler's classroom. I resurrected the parent-teacher organization along with Jamie Brower and served as vice president and eventually president. During that time, we completed the smart board project in the building, replaced playground equipment, financed a science night, provided teachers with funds to purchase classroom supplies, purchased vacuum cleaners, and thousands of dollars worth of books for the school library. I also worked as a substitute in the building, teaching alongside many of you. In 2013, the district recognized my commitment to Fairborn City Schools and my connections within our community, and asked me to serve on the communications team as a parent representative. I continue to fill that role, as well as serve on the strategic planning committee. My experiences with these 2 groups led me to create the Fairborn City Schools community information page on Facebook and Twitter, and I run these sites sharing good news about the district and fielding questions from our community members and parents, mainly during the district's absence from social media because they didn't have a protocol in place for doing so. But enough about me. Let's talk about you. I can speak from experience when I say that Fairborn has the best teachers and support staff around. Alicia has been blessed with caring, dedicated, hardworking teachers every year. My time in the buildings was made more special by those people like Dave Warden, who checked in on me every day that I held a long-term substitute position there. Despite budget cuts, contract negotiations, and struggles of the past few years, Fairborn's teachers and staff have persevered under difficult circumstances. Now, Jerry, Pat, and myself would really like for those circumstances to change for you. Our main goal is to develop strong relationships between the board, administration, and staff. Notice I'm not using the word rebuild. I don't like that word because it gives a sense of going back to something that was done before. No, I want new, okay? We want to put a superintendent in place for you that is a strong leader, shows respect for the work that you put in every day, and will connect with each of you. The only way that this community is going to recognize new schools will be through a completely united front. All of us have got to be on the same page. We need strong and dedicated staff. And the only way we'll be fortunate enough to keep you is through respectful discussions and taking the time to listen and support you. Right now, Fairborn is facing a difficult future. And when I say Fairborn, I don't mean just the schools. I mean the entire city. 59% of our families are living below the poverty line. We've got to rethink how we do things around here. We have an opportunity with the possibility of new buildings to think completely outside the box, to work with city and county agencies to create a community center that can provide not only 21st century educational opportunities, but can also house locations for county agencies for families needing services, provide recreational opportunities for our community members, and restore pride in Fairborn once again. Our children deserve this. You deserve this. Once again, thank you so much. Please, I ask each of you to share your choices for Fairborn City Schools School Board with your family and friends, and to vote for Jared, Pat, and myself on November 3rd.
First of all, I'd like to thank the FBA and FCDA for hosting this event. Again, I'm Mike Eager, and I'm running for re-election to the Fairborn Board of Education. Having served the Air Force in one capacity or another for over 50 years, with assignments ranging from manning strategic bombers to developing new space launch systems, I've been in many places and sampled various cultures throughout the United States and the world. First assigned to Wright back in 1982, my wife Carol and I chose to live in Fairborn and found that that is where we wanted to live out the rest of our lives. My education includes degrees in history, engineering, and a master's in systems management. I've been responsible for balancing cost, schedule, and performance on new Air Force programs with annual budgets as large as $400 million. My life experiences has taught me that man's fight through life is sustained by the power of his knowledge. Based on that background and belief in the power of education, I ran for and was elected to the board 4 years ago with the goal of righting our fiscal ship and improving education for our children. Having struggled to fix our fiscal challenges, I supported the painful choices that were needed to avoid a state takeover that put us on a path of fiscal solvency and that were made without raising taxes on our people. Because of those hard choices, we were released from fiscal watch by the state and are now in a position to work other urgent issues, such as replacing old worn-out buses at a rate of 4 a year. And we're even able to take a serious look at replacing and modernizing our facilities. I'm going to take a second to talk a little bit about the fiscal thing. I got a memo that was given to us by our new treasurer about a week after she was a full-time in the job. She said, essentially, the largest factor in the better than forecast balance at the end of the fiscal year, this was right after the new contract, was due to a close watch on expenditures, which resulted in the district spending $1.19 million less than forecast. Salaries and benefits came in at $803,000 less than forecast, due largely to the new health care plan implemented through EPC, and some savings in salaries. Revenues, on the other hand, ended very close to forecast amounts, with the district receiving $250,000 more than forecast. The difference was a result of additional state funding received during the year. But essentially, the bottom line was we made the cuts, and it wasn't because we got additional revenue. Another role I played was as the legislative liaison for the district. I have worked diligently with our federal and state governments to return control of education to our local community, put parents where it belongs. I was among the first to speak out against Common Core and to argue that this national set of standards is bad for our children's future. I testified in the House Committee on Education and had numerous meetings, emails, and other communications with several individual state representatives, including Andy Thompson, Bob Hackett, Fred Strayhorn, and Rick Morales, and our state senators, including Senator White and others on the Budget Committee. I specifically provided information regarding the hours of instruction our children lost, the implementation costs, the fact that we weren't even going to get those test results in a timely manner so we could use them to improve at the end of the school year. I also addressed other conferences, the Ohio School Board Leadership Council, the Dayton Exchange Club, the Ohio Fair Tax Group, and others. All such events, I addressed the topic of Common Core, the state and federal mandates, and the way the authorities have decided to teach our children the story of all the ills of America without telling them the great story of what made the United States the #1 country in the world. A country so rife with opportunity that we have to build walls and fences to keep people out, instead of having to build walls and fences to keep people in. As a result of my efforts and others, our expensive and time-consuming park tests were deleted from the education mandates here in Ohio. In addition, we forced the testing companies to go back and fix the test, notably on the AP history, so that much of the curriculum is now better reflects the reality of the United States. I'm running for another term to continue the work to improve education for our children. Having emerged from fiscal caution without a state takeover, it's time to turn our attention to modernizing facilities. We set this effort in motion over a year ago and are working with the Ohio Schools Facilities Commission, the city, Bath Township, the base where I still work, and the entire community to see what we can do in this arena. Having served on the board for 4 years, I need your vote to continue improving the education environment for our children and our teachers, to include replacing and remodeling our old and outmoded facilities with new buildings designed to support the challenges of the 21st century. My name is Mike Eaker. I'm asking for your votes, and I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eaker. I think now we'll collect your questions. that report, you'll get the first one, will be first, and then everybody answers, and then we go, you'll be next, everybody gets a chance to be first.
So we're all addressing the same question.
Okay, we have the mic.
Okay, the first question, how do you propose to work your program without raising taxes?
Well, I guess my program is restoring respect, and that doesn't cost me a nickel. My program is to return communication to the community and to the staff, and that doesn't cost me a nickel. Now, I'm also very cognizant of the fact that people don't like to pay taxes, especially older people such as myself and retired people. But somebody, when their children were in school, paid for them and helped pay for them. And so the elderly people that are out there, and I know it's tough, and a lot of them go from paycheck to paycheck. But our first responsibility should be to educate our kids. And our first responsibility should be to do so with fine teachers and good facilities. Are we going to have to raise taxes for new buildings? Absolutely. But if anybody in this room have seen the conditions of our buildings, I don't think you'd have a problem with that, especially if you have kids or grandkids in our district. Thank you.
I'd like to sit down, I have heels on. Well, basically what Pat said, I mean, there really is there more than that? I mean, yes, so much of what we are proposing to do doesn't cost anything. Respect, getting relationships back on board, talking with city leaders, and that's a good point right there. The city approached the three of us back in early September after everything had gone through, the petitions we were running, that kind of thing, that they really wanted to work together. And there are so many different ways for raising monies and using city finances to work on finding a land site for the buildings, possible conjunctions with businesses within the schools that would allow for tax kickbacks to help us on some of that funding. So there are some different ways that we can think about this without actually raising voter taxes.
So I don't want to be repetitive, but really a lot of what we've been talking about doesn't cost money. It costs time, it costs, spending time in the community, talking to people, spending time in negotiations and developing the relationships. I don't think, though, when we talk about buildings, that there's any of the five of us that could sit up here and say that we wouldn't be doing some sort of a bond levy or something to address the buildings. Now, the thing I think we got to sell the city on is we get buildings that represent the city much better than what our buildings do now. We get a lot more business in this city. And as we bring more business in, it brings more people, it brings more revenue. So what we've got to do is tell the story, get the trust of the people of the community, tell the story correctly, and I believe we can sell the bond. The other thing we got to think about is we're in a position now where the number that's going around is 46% from the state. If we lose that window, at some point we have to fix the buildings, and it could be totally on our dime. So, thank you.
I'm glad that the city's also spoken with you about working together with them. I know I've had several meetings, both with the city manager and the mayor, and some of the city council members about the same issues, and we are working together. Okay, also working with the township trustees. We invited and accepted Steve Ross's help on our strategic planning committee. And we're actively engaged. We're going to meet with them on Thursday to talk about the potential sites. I won't kid you either. There is going to be, we've already got it pretty much in our minds that there are 2 levies. There's one that's coming this spring, which is an operating levy. It's an emergency levy that we're going to ask for your support to renew it, because without that, we can't go forward. And if that is successful, then if we watch what we're doing, we set out a good plan, then we'll come back in the fall to ask for a bond levy to support construction of the new schools. If that goes the way we hope it will, then we will have new facilities, we will be attracting new people in, and we will get the revenue and so that we can continue to even more revenue so that we can actually kind of spread the wealth a little bit.
Thank you, Mr. Eaker. It's interesting because there was discussion that we haven't met with the city very recently. I met with the city in my wheelchair about 3 weeks ago. So I know that we've met with the city recently, and I know that we work with the base managers, and I know the vice commanders' children come to our school, and they support us, and there's lots of conversation between the base and between the city and between the township. We met with the township back in the fall, the trustees, and I know that there's been an interaction between the board and the community members. We do have a renewal levy that we plan to put on the ballot in the spring, and then we will have to do a bond levy for building bricks and mortar if we want to do that. If our community decides to back that, it will all be what the community wants to do. We're not going to be able to do anything by ourselves. And the state has said that they will pay the 46%. It's all based on taxes and income taxes, real estate taxes. So we will have to come to grips with that because the state says that there has to be a local share. So that's just what the state has determined that we need to do in order to build new schools. Thank you.
This is one that several people would like some input from. It says the youngest children of the district lost a part years ago, and last year they lost their weekly music and gym. The youngest children of the district lost art years ago, and last year they lost weekly music and gym. What are your ideas and thoughts on bringing these specials back, as well as a plan for rehiring custodial staff? So a plan to put back in place what had to be cut.
That's a tough one, because I firmly believe that those programs are completely essential. I don't want my child going through Fairborn City Schools without them. I think those programs are ones that keep kids going to school, and I know for a fact that they're the ones that raise test scores and keep kids' brains on the up and up. So, we're going to have to take a hard look at what's going on in the budget, and I'm going to rely on Nicole to help us look at that and try to find some way to either, bring in outside community help possibly to restore some of those programs in the school, and try to get some people back in to help. I mean, without having seen the budget and knowing all of that's a tough question to ask a new person, but I'll be honest with you, I certainly want them back, and I will work to do whatever I can to make that happen, so.
Okay, I am also a firm believer in those programs. I was in the music program at Fairborn years ago, and at that time we had a swing choir called Choral Ears, and I've told a lot of people this. that was one of the best things that I ever did in terms of being able to be in front of people and not get super nervous. So that was a life lesson that I got taught in high school. I do think we got to maintain fiscal responsibility, and I think what we got to do is sit down with our partners, which are the union leadership and the people in this room, and figure out together how we maintain fiscal responsibility and how we restore those programs.
Many of you may not know it, but I'm a choir director on Sunday morning. And as such, music has been all my life a big part. It's probably the biggest reason I never became a musician, a professional musician, was my trombone instructor told me that if I had a talent for anything else, I should do that. Be that as it may, I was as disappointed as everybody else was when we cut out those programs. But we really had no fiscal choice. I would much rather have us take control of ourselves, of our own fiscal problems, and work them out than have the state come in and help us. Because I've worked with the federal government, and the state government may or may not be as good. The federal government has never helped any time that they said we're going to come in and help. So we're going to work together with the union leadership, with our new superintendent, and with all of the people to work these back into the program, because those are all very necessary. And I know if I turn this over to Tess, she will tell you she's an artist.
I am an artist. I'm an art professor. I know what art does. I know how important art is. I was crushed when we cut the art program. I have shed tears over cutting the art program. I've marched in marching band under Fred J. Miller at Fairborn High School. And I know that high school marching band kept me in school because I didn't really fit with the math and the science and all of that. I fit with the artists and I fit with the musicians. So I know how important it is. So let me tell you, if we could have put art back in, we'd have done it the first day I got on the board, because I truly know how important it is. So I've been 10 years on the board, and my grandchild, who was in the 7th grade, has never had an art class till she got in the 6th grade. Does that make me mad? Yes. It does make me mad. She's a very talented young lady. She's also gifted. She doesn't have any gifted program to go into. Does that upset me? Yes, that upsets me. But I can't figure out fiscally how to put it back in. I'm sorry I get emotional, but I really care. I really want these programs. As soon as we can do it, we'll do it. Thank you.
Wow, there for a minute I thought we were in a board meeting again. I don't play an instrument. I've never marched in a band. But I tell you, I bleed Skyhawk Blue. I have always been for these schools. When my boys graduated, they went on to college, I kind of drew back. But then as I saw things happening, buildings crumbling, when I saw the morale of the teachers, I had to get involved. How do we save money for these programs? Maybe we should have looked when we hired K2 to find a superintendent at $17,000. We talked to OSBA, who said they would do it for $10,000. There's a $7,000 savings. I say we sit down respectfully and talk about how we can cut and where we can save, and get with the city leaders and talk about joint things that can be done. That's what I'll do.
Okay, the next one says, thank you for your service, time, and passion for the city of Fairborn. We've touched a little bit on this, but this question says, morale remains low and communication is definitely appreciated. However, it has been asked for and promised with less than satisfactory results. They want specifics about how you would improve open, honest, and regular communication with the everyday staff member.
Okay, one of the things I would do is take the time to talk to the staff. I'm not sure that that's been going on in the past, and as a board member, I think it's very important. But specifics, I think negotiations ought to be a negotiating team made up of administration and 1 or 2 board members. I said it a week ago. And that's done in many districts in the state, just so everybody knows that. I don't believe negotiations should be handled by an out-of-town attorney that has no vested interest in the city of Fairborn. So let's get back to where Fairborn. But it goes on to, I think there needs to be regular, ongoing meetings, including board members and including the administration with union leadership, and we talk about the good things and we talk about the tough things. Because I can tell you my past experience in negotiations, you gotta be honest about what's going on. You gotta be honest with the numbers, and once you do that, it becomes easier to talk about the tough stuff. And if you reset trust, it becomes easier to talk about the tough stuff. So thank you.
Well, I'm not going to say we haven't had issues in the past, but one of the reasons that we hired Mr. Terry Rowley, and one of the mandates that we gave him was to improve the communications. And that's one of his main goals right now, is to improve communications with the staff and the community. In fact, that's going to be part of the next board meeting and executive session. We'll talk about the ways in which we can make that happen. I know, I really think that, and there are several different ways of doing negotiation. Part of it is to have the right people at the table at the right time. And that goes for both sides, by the way. And I really hope that we can make that happen going forward. I would like to see it. I would like to see the right people sit down and talk through the issues that affect us, and not just bring in people from other places to help, because sometimes they just don't. On both sides.
Yes. Well, I think that when we hired Mrs. Marshall as our new treasurer, we really set a new precedent for Fairborn. She's been a very positive help for us, and that helped us get the personnel starting to be in office that we needed to be in office. And she was the one who actually suggested this interest-based bargaining for the negotiations that everybody has accepted to be part of this next negotiation. So she knew about the method, and she had learned about it in other places. I think that as a board, we need to bring you donuts and to show our appreciation and to come and thank you. And one of the issues that if a board member goes into a building, it kind of stops all the business in the building because we interrupt the day. And so we try to interrupt the day only not every day, not every week, because we cause the principal to lose half a day of work and the teacher to interrupt the class when we come in. So it's important that we go in and visit, but not interrupt your important work of educating. I think we do appreciate our teachers extremely, very much, and I think we just need to find new ways of showing them that appreciation. Thank you.
Well, I think it's interesting that one of the tasks that they give the new superintendent or the new acting or interim superintendent is to improve relationship, because with Jerry and I in our campaign, that is our first bullet item on our information that we pass out to folks, is improve the relationship. Now, I strongly object to anybody saying that a board member coming into a building is going to disrupt the day. Now, unless you're running down the hallway yelling and screaming or singing our fight song, I don't see how that's going to happen. I came on the board when we had a guy by the name of Steve Skovic, and he was our superintendent. And he told me not to go in the buildings. And I told him, try and keep me out. Because how can I, and I know a board member's job is to set policy and not run the district, but how can I make any type of judgment if I don't talk back to the people that make our district as good as it is.
I don't have any big background in negotiations, so I'm not going to talk to you about that. My life is getting out and being with you. I'm at Fairborn Primary 3 times a week, hustling third graders around the hallway for the Calm and Assertive Project. You might find me at a football game. Now, this has been a new thing in my life, but I really like selling 50-50 tickets. Okay? We've got to be out in the community. We've got to be in the buildings. The only way that you all are going to feel any support is if we're right there next to you, helping out at PTO, helping out with your different projects and your different special babies and the things that you want to do and the help that you need. The only way we're going to know about it is if we're there for you and if you know that we're there for you. My background's in education. It's what I do best. I have been called the social butterfly. Just saying. So that's where I want to be, is showing support for you right next to you. Okay? Thank you.
We have a follow-up on the question about music and art, and asking if there could be volunteers used in those positions. Does it have to be paid? I think we need to.
We can do anything, but we're going to have to work with the unions to see if they'll approve it. That's the long and short of it.
That is the correct answer. And yes, we have to work with the unions to see if they'll approve it.
Sure, I think volunteers are a big thing in any community. It's unfortunate that our volunteers have to do background checks and everything else anymore, but yeah, volunteers. But let me tell you one thing this district has not done in the past. And I felt this when my kids graduated school. They've kind of forgotten about the people that kids have graduated from. We still got a lot to offer. If I'm elected to this board, I want to go out and grab some of these older people that have had kids in school and bring them back. They need to feel a part of this. And I guarantee you, if you open your arms and do this, they're going to support you when it comes to any type of a levy campaign. So I want to reach out to, and just off the top of my head, the Ron McDermott's, just a few of the other ones they're out there, Emily Haynes, John Haynes, a few of these teachers and administrators who have retired, but they still, hell, they're still breathing. They still want to help. And I don't think we've done a good job of reaching out to these people and asking them back in to help.
So you don't have to take from.
I felt like you covered it, right? Yeah, I'll tell you what. PTO, Common Assertive Project, these are all different things that I've been participating in for several years now. There are 1,700 children in the primary building. We have the same 5 mothers show up to PTO every week. So, and I do think that that is a disconnect between the community and the schools. So we've got to work cut out for us. We really need to build up that, hey, remember when you went here, and try to work. I think that there are those people out in the community who are willing to give their services, and but we're going to have to work it out from finding those people.
So, Mike and Tess are right. If you bring people in like that, you have to get agreement from the union, right? So the question becomes, how do you do that? You build a relationship with the union, you talk about fiscal responsibility, you have open discussion. If you get trust back, then you can have those types of discussions on what's best for the district. And that's what we need to do. We need to get past the discussions we've been having and jointly work on what's best for the district. Thanks.
The next, combine some of these questions. If you can explain your understanding, your knowledge of the hierarchy of the school board, the superintendent, and their position, how they are responsible to each other, and possibly how you would go about, or are going to go about, search for the new superintendent. I know we've hired a company, but what part does each board member play in that process?
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's an exciting time that we're looking for a new superintendent. We have hired a company, a very good company, by the way, who brought us Mrs. Marshall, and they did an excellent job. We did use OSBA in the past. They were not as professional. They also charge the sum that they charge, the $10,000, they charge that's plus expenses, so it's not just $10,000. So, but we're looking forward to it. We're going to have community meetings in the spring, or in the fall, late fall, excuse me, November and December. They're going to come in and conduct those. The board is not going to conduct those. And then the board is also going to be listening to people and asking community members what they think and who they would like to have as a superintendent, what the requirements are for that superintendent. And then after thorough search, and it will be more than just statewide, it will be open to anyone who wants to apply for it across the nation. But probably it will be somebody from Ohio, because Ohio has very particular rules about who can be a superintendent, so they'd have to meet those standards. But then eventually in about March or April, the board that will be elected in November will decide who they would like to hire.
Well, I guess I go back to the volunteer thing. I sat on a group talking about the buildings the other day, and I sat around and I looked, and there might have been 20 people, and we may have had maybe 14, maybe 15 staff members and administrators. Now, I know that they bring a lot to the table, but where's our community? I want to go out and ask our community to come in and help us find a new superintendent. And please keep in mind, this existing board wanted to give Mr. Scarberry another 5 years. So I think it's very important for us to get the right mix and blend, and not just staff. I think we need to go out, and those people are out there. I had 2 people tell me they are just itching to help. And they're fully qualified. So that's what I would do.
This is where the old teacher in me comes out, because I believe the question was, what is our perception of how the school board and the superintendent and administration, how they should work? So let's cut back to that for a second. The school board hires the superintendent and relies on that person in conjunction with the treasurer to run their district. They do not interfere with the day-to-day businesses of teaching and learning. We put things in place so that those things can happen. And then we step back and watch the magic. Okay? So, I echo what pretty much everybody else has said. My own personal feelings on the superintendent, I would like somebody who's going to be committed to our district, going to be committed to living here, raising children here, if they've not already been here and raised their children here. Fairborn is something kind of special. And we're going to need somebody here that's going to understand all the unique stuff we've got going on, okay?
Yeah, getting back to the board, basically the board hires 2 people. The board hires a superintendent, the board hires a treasurer, and the board sets policy. And like Katie said, you shouldn't get into the day-to-day activities and stuff. But you have to understand what's going on to make sure that the policies that you set are being applied correctly. If you're not aware of what's going on in the buildings, if you're not aware of what's going on in the community, then it's difficult to tell, if the policies are being implemented correctly. On the superintendent for a minute, one thing I want to talk about is we got to get a superintendent that'll be out in the district. And, I go back to Steve Clifton. He went to Foy's and ate breakfast many times so that he could go talk to people in the community. He ate lunch at a different restaurant every day on purpose so he could talk to people in the community. We've got to get back to a superintendent that's willing to do those types of things, is committed to Fairborn, like Katie said, but when the superintendent says, hey, we need something, we need a levy, people in town trust that person.
To answer the first question, the role of the school board is to provide strategic direction to the school district. And part of that job is balancing the needs of the students and staff with the availability of resources from the community and the way of going on getting it. In terms of hiring a new superintendent, one of the things that we did is we purposely chose an interim, and he'll only be an interim, to give us some breathing space and to give the next board an opportunity to look at all of the different options going forward. We are one of the other requirements that we've already levied is that person, whoever that new superintendent is, will live in our district. He will become part of the district, or she. Thank you. I'm just old. So going, and my wife would have told me that afterwards anyway. But we are going to take the time. We're going to get community involvement. We're going to have some opportunity for the community to talk and meet with the final candidates. And I'm looking forward to that process of getting right at the election.
Next question.
How do you plan to get the community members on your side to support the building levies?
Well, I think one thing, and I go back and I remember Carl Day when we were trying to get new fire stations in Fairborn, and there was actually a video that was on television that everybody could sit in the comforts of their own home and watch this. This goes back to board meetings. I know we've had board meetings on TV, but for months you haven't been able, unless you're a lip reader, to hear what is said. Now, I've been told that that's been rectified, and I appreciate that. I want our community to be up close and personal with the way our buildings are. There's been talks about possibly getting a night or a weekend or a day where we can load people in buses and take them to the buildings to show them. But this all goes back, people, to communication. If you can't trust the board, you're not going to go out and vote for anything that this board has to offer, regardless of the kids. Now, I know the kids are first, but we have to have the trust back first.
A lot of this is going to come down to communication within our community. When those respected people go out and tell people about what's happening in the community, we need to get those city leaders on board. And I know the majority are 10 years, all from Paul Kellers, Clint Allen, I see you back there. They're already out talking, Mr. Ross, with the township about what needs to be done. And it's all those kinds of people that we're going to have to rely on to get the word out and let people know. People approach me all the time. Katie, is it really going on what they say? Yeah, it really is. Okay, so the best thing we can do is talk to one another and share with your family and friends about what's going on, and that's how that levy's going to get passed.
Yeah, it's been said over and over, communication. I was in one of the focus groups that we talked about the buildings, and one of the interesting comments that was made in there was that the leadership of the district has to get out into the community and talk to the people, not wait for the people to come to them. And so the leadership has to get out, go to restaurants, go places, along with bringing people to the buildings. And I think the other thing we gotta do is get people understanding the impact that new buildings or improved buildings can have on the community, the tax base, bringing business in, and those types of things. That's how we sell it to the community.
I'll start off by saying it's not going to be easy, and because we are going to have to ask people who are going to be reluctant to part with more dollars. But I think if we can do our best, and we're working various different ways to get people to come. I'd love it. I can't wait to see all the people that are not going to show up at the primary school on Thursday for our next forum. I hope they do. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we get hundreds of people there so that they can tour this building and see what I saw when I first toured the district 4 years ago. Buildings that need to be replaced. And it's an easy message to give if you can just get the people there. And my number one issue has always been that parental involvement is key. And to the extent that we can encourage parents, and I know we're in a community where that's more challenging than it would be in Kettering or Beaver Creek or Centerville, but nonetheless, we need to get people out and need to get them to the schools so that they can see what's going on and they can go from there. We can then balance that with a plan that makes sense, that is fiscally responsible. If we do that, we'll have a levy that passes next November.
Thank you. I would like for you all to come out on October 15th, which is Thursday at 7 o'clock in the Fairborn Primary School Auditorium. We do have a program planned, and we also have a tour planned of that school. And it is shocking for those of you who have not been in the school. My husband got his hair cut today. The barber said, "We don't need new schools. I went to Fairborn. I know they're just fine." And he said, "How long has it been since you've been in the schools?" And so there's some outdated knowledge out there. We are taping those meetings. They're going up on YouTube and they're going up on our websites where people can access those. We send out personal invitations to every child's parents to come to this meeting. So the parents are being informed. Please come to see this meeting. Some of the slides are scary, I'll be honest with you, of the conditions that we're going to be showing on Thursday night, but they're reality. They're what we have. So I think we have to encourage our parents to be involved, and it's especially our younger parents, because those are the kids who are going to take advantage of these new schools. They're going to enjoy them. Thank you.
A lot of questions about superintendent search, as it probably should be. People wondering why our superintendent can't come from Fairborn. But another question is, the company that the board hired came up with the list as they were hired to do. The question is, how do you monitor, how does the board monitor who we hire so that somebody maybe with a questionable background doesn't even get back on that short list?
Okay, so just to clarify, are we talking about the search for the superintendent after Mr. Riley? Okay. I think that's going to be some diligence on our part. I mean, all of us have Google. So, I mean, looking at, seriously, we have to rely on an outside organization to get people in, okay? To let people know that there's interest and we need a superintendent, okay? Then when it comes down to that, it's going to be a matter of going through those people and looking into their backgrounds and knowing what they're about. And I am certainly not opposed to, if there's the right person here in Fairborn, then yeah, let's go with that, because that person makes the most sense, especially someone who has been dedicated to the district already. So, that seems pretty, like a no-brainer. But, yeah, so we're gonna have to do our due diligence and pay attention to that, so.
Yeah, to address the Fairborn part first, I think that anybody that's interested in Fairborn that has a qualification should put in for the position, just like anybody external. And we need to do background checks, and like Katie said, it's really easy to Google people, and you can find some stuff out pretty quick. But we gotta rely on K-12 to do their job, but we gotta ask them the right questions on what background checks have they done, what information's been done to make sure that the right person is presented. And I think we can, by bringing the citizens in, and I personally believe there's no reason that the union leadership can't sit in on part of the interviewing process. They've got a vested interest, and the people sitting in this room have a vested interest in that person. So I think we bring all of our partners in, we get people involved with what's going on, and we'll end up picking the right person.
Well, we're going to depend upon K-12 to start to do the initial screening for us. And it is open to anybody, including members of the community. And then when they come up with a list of qualified or reasonably close to being qualified candidates, they will share that with us. And in executive session, we will screen that list and probably ask more questions. Oh, by the way, this is all done after we've done some community surveys to find out, make sure that the qualifications that we're looking for, the qualities of leadership that we're looking for in a new superintendent are what reflect the needs and the desires of everybody in Fairborn. We will then interview a subset of those that we just determined that we think would make good superintendents. We will then invite the community to come in and meet the finalists. And before we select, we will then, each board member will get a chance to do his own check, and he will have, and at least what we've done in the past, is we call back to the former school boards, the former supervisors, we do our own check to make sure that we're not picking somebody who's a great actor.
Thank you. K-12 will be coming to Fairborn to the next school board meeting. It will be on October the 19th at 5:30, correct? At the Fairborn High School auditorium. Please come. They are going to go through the process in detail for you as to how they do their searches and their philosophies behind superintendent searches. They have a long history and they're very well qualified. That I know of, we have 4 qualified superintendent possibilities who can apply who are from Fairborn. If a Fairborn candidate, we would encourage them all to apply if they want to. And if they rise to we should hire the best superintendent that we can possibly hire for the district. And if they're ruled to be the best, then I welcome them with open arms. So I don't think it's an issue about whether or not Fairborn would be a one. We may have a superintendent in our midst already, but we need to know that they're the very best. Thank you.
I guess my worst fear in all this is we may find out that the best superintendent, the best man or lady to lead us could be our interim superintendent. And we put a rule down that our interim superintendent could not be a permanent superintendent. I mean, I think Terry Riley's doing a wonderful job so far. But I hope this board, and I hope the superintendent, because when we hired Steve Clifton, there was a lot that Steve Clifton didn't have, but he was the right person for the right time. And I think that needs to be looked at. Yes, we need to look at that his experience, qualification, education, but we need the right person for right now in Fairborn. And I do hope that this superintendent knows that he works for the board and not the other way around.
And finally, this question goes back to communication, answering questions from the community, emailing, possibly during board meetings. If you can't answer the questions, can you answer it during the following meeting? What is the best way and the appropriate way for community members to try and communicate with their school board members?
I think we've got to use every avenue possible. And I mean, Facebook is one of them. You know, emails are one of them. But get out in the community. We talk about being in the buildings. If you develop the right relationships with the people, it's not a surprise when you come in the building and you don't disrupt the building. I learned that for many, many years on the plant floor. When I walked on the floor initially, people were scared to death of my managers on the floor. But I can tell you that after a couple months, they understood that I wasn't there to beat them up. I was there to help them. And every time I walked through the building, they came running to me. And that's the way that you can get into the buildings and not disrupt.
I think that probably the worst way to do it is to come to board meetings and use the public announcement to be the first time that we hear about an issue. I'm from the military. I have 50 years of Air Force experience. I really appreciate that people would use the chain of command. And I need to know things when it's time. But the best time is when we can work it at a lower level and not cause commotion and heartache. I can work it, if somebody, and you sent me an email not too long ago, and I think I answered it, you said I answered it thoroughly. So that would be, so I would, that would be that's my prayer. I mean, anyway, I meet community members at Kroger's. I'm only at Kroger's maybe 4 or 5 times a week. And you know, between Long's and Kroger's, that whole area downtown, yep, we get out. We get a lot of words and try to work it as we can.
Thank you. I think a personal phone call is a really effective way to communicate with board members. I think that seeing people, I also go to Kroger's, and there's always someone at Kroger's. Always. Anyway, it's like you can go to Kroger's and conduct the whole school board business. Anyway, but I think a personal approach, and sometimes go to lunch or go to breakfast with folks who would like to do that is helpful. I do agree with Mr. Ether that one of the worst possible ways is to bring things that we can't answer to a board meeting. But then if things are brought, I think then it's the superintendent's job to answer those questions and get back with that person and answer those questions that they've asked at that meeting.
I respectfully disagree. I think if a question is brought to the board the first, second, or third time, it's the board's responsibility to get back with that citizen or that person. That person came to a board meeting not to talk to the superintendent, but to the board. And if I'm elected, what I want to do, and I've said this before, if I'm up and a question comes to me, we cannot get in a back and forth dialogue at a board meeting. So my thing is, I want to assign an action item to that question, and I want a different board person to take a different question. And then within a week, I want an answer for that person. And I want that board member to answer that question. And then at the next board meeting, I want not the superintendent, but the board member to say, this was the question was asked and this is the answer. How are we going to improve the board relationship with teachers and community if we let a superintendent take the answer to the question?
I'll be honest with you. I've been to about a total of 3 board meetings so far. The portion of the agenda in which community members are allowed to address the board makes absolutely zero sense to me. There is no way for anybody to address their issue, have their issue addressed once they've spoken it. You get it out, and then it's done, and nobody ever comes back to it again. We've got to change that. It makes no sense why we can't change that. Set a protocol in place in which people can enter the meeting, write their concern on a card, a board member can address those concerns, or read off those concerns for a certain portion of the meeting, comment can be had, and like Pat said, assign a person to address an action item so that it can be referred back to later. If we rely on people coming up to us in Kroger all the time, I don't know about you, but I got my mind on what milk I gotta buy. Okay? So I'd like to have those issues addressed at the board meeting or within the board meeting parameters so that we can address them appropriately.
Here.
You went. It's done.
Yeah, I'll keep talking.
Well, I'd like to thank each of you for your time and your